Hello, Aries. How are you? And what a great beginning. We have little Zoe saying, running in the back. Okay. Happy May 15th. So right now we have Venus retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, Saturn retrograde, Pluto retrograde, Mars in Pisces, and the nodes in Gemini. So compared to where we were a month ago, lots has changed. Let's take a look at the cards for the rest of the month, shall we? So for Aries, from May 15th to the end of May. Oh, okay. That I'm gonna just keep starting over. From May 15th to May 30th, what's the energy for Aries? Okay, all right. So, you know, the cards, a lot of cards kept falling out both times. So I would say lots of things happening. This one talks about passion. And this card we've seen a bunch of times recently. Let's see how that story plays out. Can I get the challenge energy for Aries? Oh, okay. Ooh, creativity. So this is, so I was trying to figure out, I forget what the blue one is, but this is Major Arcana. So this is the Empress card. So interesting that we have these two already female figures here in a sort of creativity motion. So the idea is the energy is about passion, discovering your passion, fulfilling your passions, sticking to your passions. And the challenge is actually that itself, the discovering the creative, creating it, maybe identifying it. And you see, she's kind of like reaching for the moon there. And so I feel like maybe what we might be seeing is sort of, particularly because of the retrogrades, everything's like so slow. I don't know about you. Well, also, actually, I can tell you how this is playing out in my life already, is that I have to move forward on a couple of projects, and there are 3 people that are instrumental to me who have just completely disappeared off the face of the earth. They don't return phone calls. They don't return emails. And of course, you don't want to be the jerk and be like, hey, you know, like, what the hell's going on? Because maybe there's some serious problems going on at home. At the same time, I literally have everything completely blocked, can't move forward because I can't get in touch with these people. So there may be some difficulties in actually going through with the creativity that's involved in whatever this passion is, right? Maybe because you're not listening to your intuition, because there's that reaching for the moon, or you're having a hard time seeing things grow around you, or you're having a hard time dealing with, because remember, this is about gestation periods, pregnancies, you know, you're having a hard time waiting, right? And it's always patience, the lesson, isn't it? But this is like, it's even more annoying right now, I think, than patience, because patience is like, I know what I want, it's not coming to me, and so I just have to sort of find my Zen place until the time is right. But I feel like, especially in my situation, what I've seen, and also a couple things happened to my daughter as well, same, is that you have all the pieces in place, it's just, and there's no like logical excuse for why things aren't going forward, but at the same time, there's nothing you can do about it. And so the frustration can be high. Now let's get another wisdom for May 15th to 30th. All right, take that one. Okay, yeah. So this is that change in the wind, right? And it came out sideways. So, and I think that's indicative, right? It's like we're neither here with the wind changing, but it's also not in reverse. It's kind of in this odd sort of middle zone. It's like where you don't really understand, is it going forward or is it not going forward? Things are kind of like stuck in a sense of limbo, if you will. Let's see the rest. I'm going to keep it here just for aesthetics sake, but we remember it's horizontal. Let's get some more cards here to see what the messages are. Because it looks really descriptive to me. I'd like to see a little bit more focus on how to deal with it. But I think I have a feeling that that's the energy, right? That this may be a period of time where there is no focus. So let's get the energy for right now. Energy for Aries, May 15th. Energy for Aries, May 15th. Okay. Okay, at home. Yes, most of us are at home currently. And then let's get towards the end of the month, the energy towards the end of the month. Now this is interesting because this is a 3 and that's also a 3. This is a 9, so 3 times 3, 9. Can I get a card for the end of the month, please? A card for the end of the month. Okay. Oh, wishing well. And this is a 12. Okay, so I'm going to read these because I think they're important. They're all actually like numerically linked as well, right? 3 times 3, 3, 6, 9, 12. So they go in like multiplications of the 3. So that, let's say that Empress energy, actually no, let's read them first. That Empress energy is what's trying to sort of multiply right now. That idea of creativity, the idea of abundance, gestation periods, letting things grow. It's kind of like the image that just came to my mind is, I've been baking a lot. I used to stay away from breads because I thought the yeast is really fickle and I don't, waiting 18 hours. I live in Italy. We have like some of the best bread on the planet. So why would I wait 18 hours for rising when I could just go downstairs and buy it? But I've been really enjoying the whole process of it actually. And of course, making it happen. But part of it is that there's nothing, while it's the word in Italian is levitare. That's why I keep saying levitating. While it's rising, while the dough is rising, there is nothing you can do, right? You can watch it, you can get frustrated. And it's sort of a delicate balance because if you open it up and check on it, then it falls apart. Like it has to stay in sort of a very constant environment in order for it to do its job, right? So it's kind of like we've sort of identified what it is that we want to do, that which makes us happy. And the hard thing, I think, right now is accepting that we're in this sort of middle phase in between. It's like we can see the wind of change. It's already starting to blow. We see it. And we can actually probably even see the finish line, or we have a good idea what the finished product looks like, what we're building. Like that feels to me to be very clear here, especially since we have the wishing well that shows up. But it may be this period now, particularly with these retrogrades and with this Mars in Pisces, that above all else is that this is a time to let the dough rise on its own. Like, so kind of like take your attention off the one thing you want to put your attention on. This is if you're stalled, right? Obviously, if things are moving forward for you in a productive fashion, like good for you. But if you're feeling stalled, if you can see it and taste it, but there's like, you just can't seem to push things in the right direction to move, to start to manifest, then you're in this sort of dough rising period where the only thing you can do is leave it in the oven with the light on and a little bit of humid water and just let it sit for 18 hours, right? And then come back to it. So the home card says, peace, security, safety, belonging, and all the features one would want from the home are indicated now. The home represents an invitation to experience what it's like to be secure in your own skin, to live comfortably no matter what is happening in the world around you, right? So getting comfortable in this very uncomfortable situation. It's time for opening your eyes to your tribe of like-minded people, or of one special person who makes you feel like you've come home. Home is love, and love is all around you now. Whatever your inquiry, you are where you're meant to be and will reap great benefits by staying on this path regardless of where it leads. Home will always be with you. It is where the heart is. Okay, so like I said, you've really sort of identified, there was that moment of sort of figuring out who we are, who we wanted to do, what this new articulation of ourself is, what lights us up, what we're passionate about, what we feel like giving to the rest of the world, what dress in the sense of image towards the outside world, 10th house stuff, do we want to bring to the world? And so you've identified that, but like I said, it might not be giving you the visible fruit, the visible manifestations that you thought it would be by now. Now let's read this wishing well here. Okay, sorry. Okay. Desire is the most important impulse for creating life. Interesting. Passion for creativity, right? Now you're seeing the relationship between desire and inspiration and sensing that moment of truth when you feel the inception of new life. It is an aha moment when everything makes sense. Perhaps you recognize a soulmate or are conceiving a baby or an idea. The wishing well card awakens you to the presence of unseen forces that enable new beginnings. Interesting. So that's like those unseen forces are like sort of the mystery of yeast rising and how dough grows from this to this in 18 hours. So divine intelligence activates the field of possibilities where new life is co-created in a magical way. Neither you nor anyone else can know how or why this happens. It just does. To that end, you can't control the process of growth. Rather, you must step aside to be a channel for higher forces and relinquish any attachment to how this new creation should appear or when. Form your intention and take action by dropping a coin into the wishing well, then trust in spirit, prepared to be amazed. Okay, so that is perfectly in line with everything else. Give me 1 second, that's my door. Okay. I realized, actually, while I was getting the door, that I forgot to set out the 3 cards for advice. So I would say right now, think of a number between 1, 2, and 3, or pick a number between 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll deal some cards, or I'll draw some cards. Okay, the cat is literally... Hello, Zoe. So Patrick, you asked for it. There you go. She thought she'd come in and say hi. Okay, yeah, so pick a number 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll get some cards and give them 1, 2, 3 numbers. Anyway, let's get 3 cards now, please, for Aries. May 15th to May 30th. How does this all unfold? May 15th to May 30th. So, like I was saying before, you know, about the 3s, the 3, the 9, and the 12, is that they grow exponentially, right? But it's a process. And right now we're sort of in the middle of that process, and we can't rush it. And there's really no sense, like these, you know, it's rare that we get so many. These usually come up, you know, in a mix of upright or not. So it's like things are definitely in the right direction. The wind of change is blowing. It's just kind of at like a shifting. It's in between the shifting of the directions. 3 cards, please, for air. Ooh, okay. Right. So yeah. So we're sort of in between that moment of old world, new world. And we can either have like a lot of options, or we're just really not sure about how to move forward. Confused about what to do next, maybe even feeling a little bit overwhelmed because there isn't one clear answer. And this to me, so there's a couple things, right? And I want to clarify this. Actually, can you clarify how we're using the Page of Swords here, please? How are we using the Page of Swords here? Clarify Page of Swords. Okay. So you have the Ten of Pentacles clarifying the Page of Swords. Because it could be, you know, this is sort of a child, a youthful figure in information, right? So okay, so yes, so it's like looking at these, we're still looking at all these objects, and as you can see, they're all sort of observational, observing, like still, these are all kind of weighing options cards right here. Nobody's taking action. There's not movement forward. He's under contemplation. He's under confusion. And this guy's an information collector, right? He doesn't know what to do with the information that he's getting yet. But in this sort of gathering and collecting, looking at the options, studying the things in front of you, even though there's no action and it's stagnant, that what it's helping to do is actually multiply the pentacles, right? And look, there's all four, we have 4 cards and 4 suits. Also something that rarely happens. So, you know, what we're dealing with here is sort of like a complete package. And this period here with all these retrogrades is really going to be helpful for us to mature, to grow, to expand. Oh, and that was the first card that fell out on that first deck, was expansion. So interesting. So it's really a moment of lievitazione, right? Of rising, of letting ideas, giving ideas time to work their divine chemical dynamics that cause those ingredients that we put in there that seemed basic to turn into a very rich dough that can then feed our passion, feed others, right? So it's sort of like this moment in time, which may be frustrating because we're Aries, we're used to pushing things, but with that Mars in Pisces, there's really nowhere to push because, you know, he's underwater. So it's going to be very much about sort of flowing with the universe's timing right now and taking things as they come to you, right? So it's like, there's only so much you can do. You may get to a point where it's like, I've done everything I can do. There's nothing, like I need responses from the outside world at this point. I need things coming to me from other people. There is nothing else I can do. And so the idea is to sort of wait for those moments to happen, wait for things to come to you, and then respond to them in the right way when the time is right. Instead of perhaps actively, it's not about actively running out and trying to meet your project where it finds itself now. It's about letting things flow to you. But this is very much a sort of moment of, it's seeming stagnation, right? Because, you know, if you think about the whole rising of dough, nothing happened. Like, you don't see anything happen, but you put it in the proofing box and you pull it out and it's twice the size and you've done nothing. It's just, you've had to let the science do its job, right? So this is less about us doing our job and more about letting the science do its job right now. So, you know, maybe the answer to the rest of the May is like, read a good book, do something you're passionate about, because this definitely isn't a moment to be pushing anything forward. Let's get a piece of advice. Can I get some words of advice for Aries? Oh, okay. I can't believe all those. Oh, I love it. So, okay, this card is Archangel Michael and Lapis Lazuli, the Vision. Okay, let me read this for you. Number 8, which is the number of abundance. So the energy is good. I have to say, the energy in these cards is really nice. I think we may need to have a sense of humor about the inability to push things forward the way we would like. Okay, so we bring you the gift of vision, an inspirational insight from which you shall derive energy, motivation, and a sense of purpose. Okay, and that's these things here. You have many abilities and the capacity to do numerous things with your talent, time, and energy. We know your heart yearns for meaningful, focused purpose. You have things you want to accomplish, perhaps so many that at times you may feel as though you are attempting to live more than one life in this lifetime. I hear that. We know you can benefit from a vision, something that integrates all you want to do into one unifying purpose. Even if you do not see how it is possible for all your talents and dreams to be woven into one master vision, we know that love makes all things possible, according to its own creative intelligence and wisdom. The universe shall take care of the details, and from the loving universal mind, which was that kind of thing we were talking about right there, like reaching for the moon to access the creative information. Universal take, and from the loving universal mind, in accordance with divine timing and your own readiness, we shall gift you with your vision. Okay, actually, I'm going to read a little bit more because this is interesting. I want to scan it first. Sorry. So vision is a top of the mountain moment, right? And that's, like I said, these are sort of contemplative cards, mastering it. So, you may be, some of us will have sort of had the vision and maybe at like sort of a standstill on making it happen. Others may still be in the process of articulating it. We're all at different stages on our journeys. And so this may be a time for you to sort of divinely channel what that is. But instead of doing it in sort of an aggressive way, to sort of tap into that universal wisdom, tap into that lunar energy, spend time in the things that you're passionate about, like even if you want to like write a list of the things that you're passionate about, spend some time understanding your options, what the possibilities are, what are things that I love to do, where do I think I want to go, what were some of my childhood dreams, like what were my childhood dreams about what life would look like when I was all grown up, right? All of those are fodder for that. And then throw a coin in the wishing well. So for some of us, there's a phase of exploration right now, of sort of identifying a life's purpose, right? Of figuring out which direction that wind of change is going to take you in. And others may be at a place where they're stalled, right? And that's sort of about taking their hands off the driver's seat and letting the universe work its magic. Okay, so vision is a top of the mountain moment where you get the sense of where you have been and where you are headed. It is often an all-encompassing, big picture flash of insight. You won't necessarily know how what you see could possibly happen. If it is very uplifting and expansive vision, then your mind may wonder if it's a fantasy or wish rather than a vision, simply because the truth of how it is going to unfold and develop is beyond what your mind can conceive at the time. Maybe for you, the vision is more of a feeling, a clear yearning in your heart to do something in particular with your life, or an inner knowing that you are a healer, for example. Maybe you have just had your vision or are waiting for the moment when you finally get why you are here on this planet. Your vision will not necessarily include details of the steps to take at first, although that will come when you are ready to take the relevant steps. It can be, yes, okay, so when I was going through I read this once a long time ago. This is the most priceless, piece of information that I read through times of not having a plan, right? Flying blind. And here it is. It can be like driving a car through a foggy night, seeing only the most immediate part of the road before you at any given time. Does that mean the road doesn't exist beyond what you can see? Of course not. It does, however, mean that although the vision gives you the equivalent of a destination, a sense of where you are headed, once you are on the journey, the road will not always be clearly visible beyond what you can do today. You could compare it to the difference of being at the top of the mountain and seeing all before you, and the compromised vision that has to occur as you descend from the peak and begin the journey. The view during the journey itself is not often as clear and far-reaching as the moment of the vision. You can trust in the guiding hand of the universe to help you fulfill your vision, even when you cannot grasp the entirety of the steps you need to take to get there. There will be times when you may wonder if you have lost track altogether. These are the moments when you need to come back to the vision to gain energy and motivation to keep going, no matter what seems to be happening or not be happening in your view of things. Even if it is not always clear to you as you live your life, through the guiding intervention of the compassionate wisdom of a wildly creative higher intelligence, you are being given exactly the opportunities and tests, gifts, and information you need to take your journey. The universe cannot take your journey for you, but it will certainly empower you with all you need to be able to do so yourself. Okay, so that's really exciting. Again, it talks to a couple of different situations of current sense of stagnancy, either on your passionate project that you were developing, your passionate new you, or trying to figure out your passion. Use this time while we're in the home, in particularly, to get a better sense of feeling comfortable in this moment, right? Even when you rise out, and I'm sorry to beat this analogy to like a dead horse, but even once it's risen, you actually have to like punch it down and start over, because it needs a couple of rounds, right? So it's not, but that's part of the process. So whatever seemingly looks like maybe you've lost ground, or things aren't moving, or you can't see where this wind is taking you and it feels frustrating, no, this is a moment of stagnancy, but it's there to deliver this sort of complete vision. Remember, one card from each suit here. So it's in the process of delivering a complete vision and getting us also, I think, prepared for what's to come, right? You know, and I've said this before also, when people who haven't had money in the past win the lottery, they end up declaring bankruptcy. And I think 95% declare bankruptcy within 5 years. Why? Because it's also like diving. You can't go down too fast. You have to go in levels. And when you hit that first 10 meters, you know, you have to stop and wait for your body to adjust to be able to go back down again. So this is really a moment where we have to allow the divine scientific principles, energetic principles at work in the universe to do what they need to do on our mental bodies, emotional bodies, psychic bodies, physical bodies, whatever needs to happen in one of the 4 areas of our life. There are mechanisms going on right now that we can't necessarily see, but that need time to do their work before we can go to the next step. So, you know, the driving at night is, I think, the best metaphor ever for you just need to do what's directly in front of you. Use your passion and your creativity as a guide, and you will will never be wrong. And if you have something that, even if it sounds too good to be true, right? Like you have this vision, it's like, oh, I know what I want to do, but I could never do that. Brainstorm, right? Like, well, what would it actually take? We tend to dismiss ideas that are new because they're new. But it doesn't mean they're not doable. It just means we haven't actually explored how we could go about doing them. So if you have like a wish or a vision that you've been given that you're like, man, I couldn't do that, you can go through the steps, right? Like take it to its four corners and see, well, what would it look like? What would I need to make happen? Who would I need to involve? What way would, start to look at it. What money would I need? Put some stuff down on paper if you're stuck in that mode, to just let your brain kind of get used to the fact that it is potentially, that which you wish for is potentially possible. Okay, so I'm going to put you on pause one more second. I'm going to get my cards, and then we'll do 1, 2, 3 advice for everybody. Hold on. Okay. So, if you picked the number 2, for people who picked the number 2, what's the advice for people who picked number 2? Advice for people who picked number 2. Number 2 is Saint-Germain, karma releasing. Move beyond drama, create your own path, make room for good energy. Okay, let's do. Now, people who picked number 2. So we'll put that there. Number 1. People who picked number 1. Okay, people who picked number 1, Lord Ganesh, infinite abundance. Obstacles are being removed. Spiritual support and connections are increasing. Lovely. Can't see that. It's okay. And you see how those are also starting to connect the dots there. And there's Venus and Jupiter. And oh my God, there's Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars. And those are all the planets that are in the retrograde. So this is really suited to this moment. People who picked the number 3, Archangel Michael, second time he came up, trusting heaven. You are safe. Angels stand close. Surrender your concerns and allow a miracle to happen. Okay, so lovely reading. Let's take advantage of this uncomfortable retrograde time and for the rest of the month. But it, again, it's if your project is stalled or if you feel